All right. Hello and welcome to another Midweek with Max. This is Rick, joined by JCV, Joshua, Jeremy Nation, our lead moderator in Discord, Alex, and oh, I see a Clayton is in the studio. We should add him to the stage as well. Ta-da! Oh, there he is. Okay, that was weird. Well, anyway, and of course our co-founder Max Sanchez. So without further ado, let me just kick it over to Max while I can still speak English, and we can go from there.
Max, you have
Oh,
been
I was on
muted.
mute. Okay.
There we go.
One of these weeks we'll figure
Hell
out
of
how
a
to do
start so
this.
far.
Oh man. All right. Welcome everyone back to another Midweek with Max. Appreciate everyone showing up to chat about Hemi for another week. Couple engineering updates. I've been making progress on the op-breath conversion, and we're starting to work on some of the ZK approving hookups, as I think I mentioned last week. And so we're getting a internal testnet on the Ethereum Hootie testnet setup. We don't need that for the Ethereum side of the tunnel for ZK testing, but we'll be using that in the future for HBitVM as well, because that needs the Ethereum attestations, and so it needs an actual live proof of stake environment to work with and test everything end to end. So we're preempting that by just deploying everything on a proof of stake testnet from the get-go. We will be releasing a version of that to beta testers at some point once we do our internal testing. Not sure if it's going to be the same network we're setting up now or if we'll do a brand new one, but either way, it'll be the same format of a brand new Hootie-based testnet that will be at some point releasing to beta testers to start testing out the new ZK Ethereum tunnel we're working on. So excited to get that out there. I've also been doing some more internal review on all the MinerFi ZK proving ZKVM guest programs. That's been moving along well, and those will be going off to third-party audit relatively soon here. Let's see, aside from that, we have been making some progress on the somewhat secret, we've talked about it, Hemi Dex style product that we're building internally. So hoping to announce more details on that soon once we push that public. I've also got some incentive campaigns. We sort of soft launched Vetro about a week ago, and so we got some incentive campaigns going on, and probably some more to come next week. And I think with that, I will pass it over to Jeremy to give any marketing updates, and we'll pass it over to Rick to go through questions.
Yeah, Max, you touched on it there with our launch of Vetro. We've actually got the opportunity for you now to make awesome yield out there on the ecosystem. You can check our partner at Stakedown. We have some great ways for you to make some stablecoin yield. You can use it with Hemi BTC. You can also use it directly with some of the other pools that are live there. Check them out. It is Vetro at vetro_org on X, and you can find out all the opportunities that are waiting for you there. I will be stepping in over Rick's vacation, so you might be seeing a little bit more of this gorgeous Punham for the next week or so. You can expect to see me for Protocol Engineering office hours, as well as the next Midweek with Max. So I look forward to seeing you guys then, and now I can kick it back over to Rick.
All right. Well, thank you. I'm gonna kick over to Alex for some community style updates, if you're good to deliver that, and then we can get right into some questions.
Yeah, I'm totally good with this. Thank you for the invitation. I'm sorry I don't have the camera today, but I will have some for the next time. Yeah, we have launched the season 5 of Air Games that started yesterday. You actually can join to climb the leaderboard. There is some rewards on Hemi token. Actually, we have three little retro games, but it's retro games, but you can join. I mean, the main goal of a game is to have fun, and I promised you have fun on Air Games. So yes, join. It's already the season 5. We already prepared some surprise for the season 6, but for this season 5 we have some updates. We have integrated a system who give you some bonus for some NFT holders. So the NFT are the Fire Hatchling and the first anniversary of Hemi NFT. So if you have it, you have some bonus on your hair point, what you win. You will climb the leaderboard easily. And yeah, it's all for me for this week. Happy to meet you in the Discord. We are still here. Me and all mods welcome you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Yeah, so Hair Game Season 5 is live, and we'll get those payouts for Season 4 handled hopefully this week, early next at the latest. But yeah, join. There's some really cool games that were developed by our moderation team as well as some community members, and yeah, they've been going really well, and they're a lot. All right.
Thank you, Rick.
Where the hell are the questions? There we go. All right. Oh, there they are. All right. Is there an update on the pop payout algorithm or previously converted pop points tokens being unlocked?
It is coming soon. We're merging in some opget stability improvements, and so we're waiting to get that to merge in the pop payout stuff on top of it, because we kind of have two different working branches of the code base. So it is coming very soon. Apologies on the delay. It's been extremely delayed, but we are going to be getting that out there shortly.
All right. Still in update land. Creator asks, are there any updates on VE Hemi staking rewards?
Those are also coming soon. We need to get one new payout contract deployed because we did the VE Hemi contract upgrade, and so we have a new rewards contract that we need to get deployed for that. So it's coming very soon. I know I said last week, hopefully by the end of last week, but seriously, hopefully by the end of this week, we will get those distributed and done. And we also have a minor UI update to make as well to fix that APY display issue.
All right. One more from Creator. As more protocols integrate Hemi BTC, what metrics will you personally watch to decide whether adoption is actually healthy rather than just TVL growth?
I mean, TVL is the main one because that's people actually putting Bitcoin, into the system and using it. Not so much Hemi BTC TVL specifically, like if somebody just, tunnels 100 Bitcoin and leaves it in their wallet for a year, that's not very interesting. But I definitely look at TVL and the actual protocols it's deployed in. One of the main initiatives that we're going to be pushing on in the relatively near future, as Vetro matures a little bit, because we're using that as a backend, will be the Hemi Earn product. And so that's going to be a combination of the minor, quote unquote, MinerFi. It's now, I think, officially rebranded to Fast Lane. Is that correct, Jeremy? Did I get it right?
It is rebranded to Fast Track.
Fast Track. Dang it. Okay.
You're so close, though. And it is similar to a fast lane, so you are not too far off. Don't worry about that.
Fast Track. Okay, so we finally got a new branding name, so I'm going to stop saying MinerFi and start saying Fast Track, but we're talking about the same thing that we've been talking about for a couple months here. But Hemi Earn, what I was saying is basically a combination of that formerly MinerFi, now Fast Track system, and then also a backend kind of homogenized, simplified yield strategy system that's based around Vetro and the Vet BTC product. And so as we bring Vet BTC to market, as we get some incentive, it's live today, but we need to get more strategies that it's actively engaging in on the Ethereum side. And once we have that, we'll have a end-to-end Hemi Earn system for Hemi BTC. And so probably the major metric I'd be looking at, especially in the near term, would be how much Hemi BTC is actually going through the Hemi Earn program, or going through for users who are on Ethereum and engaging directly with Vetro to get the same yields, who are doing it through the Ethereum side. So it wouldn't be necessarily Hemi Earn, but it'd be the same underlying product that's generating yield on Hemi BTC. Longer term, once we get the HBIT VM tunnel up and running, we'd definitely be looking at more institutional flows, seeing people bringing large amounts of capital on chain, doing very low risk treasury style strategies. So some of those will be supported through Hemi Earn, through extremely conservative strategies, in sort of a V2 when we expand to a platform where it's not just the Hemi Earn vault, but there are multiple Hemi Earn vaults with different yield, different trade-offs, different exposure to different assets and different types of protocols. And then longer term, even beyond Hemi BTC, once we launch HBitVM, I've talked about this ad nauseum in past weeks, but there's some pretty exciting stuff that you can do reusing that technology to create, we're using it for, in our case, the Hemi BTC tunnel to make it basically a ZK secured tunnel on Bitcoin. But you can remix that tech and basically make it into stuff like an even more secure form of non-custodial DEX. The one I'm most excited about, truly Bitcoin settled, Bitcoin native derivatives products, so options, futures contracts that settle directly on Bitcoin. You can do interesting stuff like Bitcoin-backed stablecoins, Bitcoin lending protocols. And so it doesn't really fall into the Hemi BTC umbrella, but it uses adjacent technology and sort of reframes it into different use cases that are also doing cool stuff with native BTC. And so longer term, that'd be another metric in addition to just Hemi BTC, where it's deployed, where it's earning yield, how much is going through Hemi Earn, how much is going through Vetra with the VET BTC product.
All right. We are still on creators' questions. He has one more. Which upcoming Bitcoin improvements do you think will have the biggest impact on Hemi over the next 2 to 3 years?
We'll see if we get any in the next 2 to 3 years. It would definitely be cool to see OpCat activated. That lets us do some more interesting ZK proving stuff. So you can verify a Groth 16 proof on Bitcoin and Bitcoin script. It's very expensive. You have to do this, as we've talked about in previous weeks, the sort of BitVM 2 based design, where you have this giant, several gigabyte verifier that you have to split up into these tiny little chunks and Merkleize all that into a giant tap script, tap tree, and then bring one portion of that on chain. And then the operator commitment in the event that they're challenged is tons of Winternitz signatures that basically attest to not only the original input proof, but the mid state between 500 or 1,000 chunks of a verifier program. So OpCat would make that a lot more efficient. So it would make the costs for HBitVM vaults go down. It would make, right now, the current plan for HBitVM is people would only be creating and then withdrawing from the HBitVM vaults if they're moving a fairly large size of Bitcoin in or out of the system. And then the formerly Minerify, now Fast Track system would be basically a liquidity wrapper around the Hemi BTC tunnel. And so you would be getting Hemi BTC that's backed by the ZK vaults, but you wouldn't be going directly through the ZK vaults. You would instead be going through LPs who themselves went and deposited large amounts or withdraw large amounts to rebalance the system as needed. Where's it going with that? So OpCat would make that a lot more efficient. So we could greatly lower the minimums for creating HBitVM ZK vaults if we did have OpCat. It also would let us integrate or implement rather other ZK verifier algorithms. So it wouldn't be, still probably couldn't do any post-quantum ZK proofs. That's still in no man's land, but you could do other proving systems that don't map quite as nicely to Bitcoin script. And to say Groth 16 maps nicely to Bitcoin script is a little tongue-in-cheek, but it's at least within the constraints that are practical, even if they're a little ridiculous. Whereas implementing some other proof systems that use slightly different math, different curves, is almost impossible with Bitcoin script today if you want to settle in a BitVM style construct. There's ways potentially with garbled circuits you could do it, but it'd be an absolutely massive garbled circuit. And so having something like OpCat, as simple as it sounds, the ability to concatenate two things on the Bitcoin stack together would definitely lower the barrier to entry for HBitVM native tunneling for users instead of always having to go through the liquidity wrapper, which is still a perfectly fine design in most cases, but the cheaper you can get the HBitVM vaults, obviously the better. and then being able to have more prover diversity on the actual proof that's getting verified on Bitcoin, and potentially being able to do stuff with, in the ideal case, something like a Groth 16 and a Plonky 2 proof or something like that as part of a single vault construction would be really interesting. So definitely OpCat. There's a lot of proposals that have been floating around, I think, since, I'm bad with times, but like 2017, 2018 were some of the first ones for, even I think one back in like 15 or 16 for covenants. And depending on the version of covenants, if one were to get implemented, that could either eliminate or maybe partially eliminate the need for the covenant emulation system for the HBitVM vault graph on Bitcoin that gets constructed for each of the ZK vaults. So that would definitely be cool to see. You can do a version of covenants with OpCat alone, but it's very limited. I think things that, some people aren't really talking about this too much because it's, I don't know, for whatever reason, but it is an open discussion in some Bitcoin developer circles for adding better transaction self-introspection, which would be cool because it'd be basically a really low-risk way to add post-quantum signatures to Bitcoin, and it also has some implications for being able to simplify the HBitVM style transaction graphs as well. Because basically, you can verify a Merkle or a Lamport or a Winternet signature in Bitcoin script, but you don't have access in the Bitcoin script execution environment to look at the transaction ID of the transaction that you're actually spending. And so when you're using, say a normal ECDSA signature for a standard Bitcoin transaction, there's an opcode that lets you check the signature against the TXID, basically, or the portion of the transaction that you're signing, which that's what allows you in Bitcoin script to enforce that, the person spending these funds needs to sign the new transaction that spends the funds with the private key corresponding to this public key, or this, hash of a public key. But that opcode does multiple things at once. So it's not just doing the signature verification, but it's also what reads behind the scenes the relevant transaction data and hashes it, and then validates the signature over that hash. And so it doesn't expose, the important part is it doesn't give you access to the hash of the spending transaction in the stack. So you could produce a Bitcoin transaction today that, sends money to an output that's locked and encumbered in such a way that the person spending it needs to produce a valid Lamport signature. But you couldn't require that Lamport signature be over the specific transaction that spends it. And so you can implement a version of post-quantum cryptography. And again, I'm one of the ones in the space who's not terribly worried about quantum computers, coming out tomorrow at the scale needed to break, Bitcoin and Ethereum cryptography, but they're coming eventually. I think it's longer than most people think, but either way, it's never a bad idea to get ahead of that as much as possible. But what I was saying is you can implement post-quantum cryptography on Bitcoin, but you can't use it in a useful way. For the most part, there's ways that with really ridiculous workarounds, you can get some of the transaction data sorted back into the transaction using some sort of like asymmetric grinding over some of the data in the transaction. So there are interesting, I think Collider VM was the first one who was doing something like that. And then there's a more recent version that kind of builds on that idea, but it's still ridiculously complicated and impractical for most users. It would be not just, you now have a private key, but now you have to spend, 100 hours of GPU compute to brute force your way to generating your Bitcoin transaction. And so seeing something that gives more introspection into the spending transaction within Bitcoin script, that would be really interesting. I think those are the main ones I would like to see. I mean, if you want to go for the holy grail, it'd be cool to get a Groth 16 verifier opcode, but I don't think that's happening, so I'm not going to put that on the wish list.
Let's be reasonable, Max. Come on.
Yeah, let's not be crazy here. I don't know, John, if you have anything. You follow the Bitcoin mailing list and have I don't know if you have any other interesting ideas.
Yeah, I mean, right now, what I'm seeing in the Bitcoin mailing list is most of the chatter is post quantum, which which there isn't even an agreement in theory as to what's going on. So I think it's still wide open for what, if any, well, something will show up there at some point. But, what's going to show up there, I don't know. And I don't think anyone's agreed on or even close to it. I'm excited for that because while I don't believe that, what's the acronym we use? It's the cryptographically significant quantum computer. So C whatever whatever those 4 letters are, I don't believe that that's coming in the immediate future, but I think for something like Bitcoin, where the time horizon for things is long, is generous. That's it. It's important for us to get things like that soon. And most of the other chatter has been around, there's various, UTXO share and mempool sharing ideas that people have that are all range from interesting to silly. So I don't have anything other than the quantum stuff that I think is coming that's going to take a significant amount of Bitcoin developer like time and mind share that is too interesting. Other than, the hope for OpCat maybe one day, I don't see anything that will dramatically impact us.
One other minor thing that's easier because it's not a new opcode or enabling a disabled opcode or something that's like actually a core protocol consensus change would be relaxing the mempool propagation rules for what's considered a standard or permitted transaction. Right now with the whole BitVM design space, some people with different versions have different trade-offs, and so their transactions are smaller. And with like garbled circuits, you have a lot smaller transactions. But for any of the BitVM 2 style designs, in the worst case, you're publishing about a 4 megabyte transaction on chain, and the current Bitcoin peer-to-peer propagation rules do not like that, and so you cannot propagate that transaction over the Bitcoin network. You can include it in a Bitcoin block, and you can propagate that block over the peer-to-peer network, and it's valid according to the protocol rules. But that's an instance where the mempool enforces more strict rules than consensus. And so the current reality, and this is partly why in the HBitVM paper we talk about building a Bitcoin MEV marketplace. There's other reasons too, because it allows us to build a more like incentive aligned system where the protocol can directly incentivize people for doing certain actions on Bitcoin that need to be pre-baked into the HBitVM transaction graph. But the other reason is because of that default mempool relay functionality. So right now, if you want to get a non-standard transaction in a Bitcoin block, you essentially have to send it to the Bitcoin miners directly. And so there's stuff like, I think, Slipstream, mempool.space may have a non-standard transaction submitter alongside their accelerator. I'd have to double check, but you have these products where basically it's mining pools who directly offer a gateway that bypasses the Bitcoin peer-to-peer network for you to send them a Bitcoin transaction that doesn't adhere to mempool rules, and they'll still include it in their block if it's at a competitive fee. And so I think that's I understand why there's limits enforced in the mempool for propagation. It does, in some edge cases, protect users against doing dumb things, like some of these standard transaction template checks that I'd have to see if those are still in Bitcoin peer-to-peer or how much they're enforced. But things like that, there can be some reasons, and there's some useful, bad user interaction edge cases that can protect the user themselves initiating the transaction. But it would be cool to see Bitcoin peer-to-peer basically just align, at least for our purposes, align the transaction propagation rules in the mempool with the actual protocol validity rules of the transactions. So you don't have this sort of, the super decentralized Bitcoin peer-to-peer network, and then you want to get this special transaction into the chain, and you have to go through like one of a number of Bitcoin mining pools directly. And, it's not a central point of failure because there's multiple mining pools that all support that sort of non-standard transaction submission, but technically it's a centralizing force on Bitcoin mining, because now only the big mining pools who run those gateways, who people know to use those gateways when they have those transactions, are submitting them to those mining pools. And so it gives those mining pools a competitive edge versus somebody, solo mining, who does not run a non-standard block, a non-standard transaction submission gateway. And even if they did, nobody would know it exists or would use it, because the chance of that one person mining their solo block is so low. So there's a theoretical, at least, economic argument that it would help with mining decentralization. And there's a practical argument that people, ourselves included, other protocols, are trying to do these non-standard transactions for a variety of reasons, and having to go through that much more centralized, direct submission gateway instead of being able to just go over the Bitcoin mempool it's not the end of the world, but I would not mind seeing the mempool rules relaxed for sure.
I mean, I would too, and I know it is technically one of the easier things you can do, but it always feels like anything mempool related is very politically touchy.
It should be easier than it is. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. People have it's funny. It's not so much that it's technically easy, because a lot of these are technically easy. They're sort of network easy, things that aren't a hard fork are network easy. But yeah, the politically mempool is a oddly touchy subject, because there's always a faction that says, well, the mempool of your node is your business, just go and do it.
Yeah, change the core software and run a different node and try to convince the rest of the world to do it, which is a fair argument. You can do that.
It's not wrong, exactly. It's technically correct, right? And I guess that's the best kind of correct for Bitcoin.
Especially in the mailing list.
Yeah. You know what? The mailing list is actually, compared to what Bitcoin Talk used to be, the mailing list is a, beautiful fresh breath of fresh air. Bitcoin Talk is I haven't had to go in there in since like doing Decred, but that was an open sewer.
Yeah, Bitcoin Talk was interesting. We should go back and see what's going on there. If it's
I still think we should have announced Hemi there.
That would have been funny. We were for everyone's to explain what John's talking about. When we were launching Hemi, we were thinking of as sort of a joke / ode to the OG altcoin launches. We were talking about doing a Bitcoin Talk post as sort of as technically the first Hemi post, and then everything would come after that. We unfortunately didn't, but we should put something on Bitcoin Talk just for old time's sake.
Who still has
the interface hasn't changed in like 15 years. It's amazing. Simple Machines forms like version runs on an old AMD Sempron or something probably.
Oh yeah, that's never changing or being updated, and I kind of hope it never does.
All right. Let's see. Oh, we have passed the creator questions. We are now on a funky question. It's the user is Funky Sasquatch. The question itself isn't funky. It's a good question. Does VE Hemi receive Vetro yield?
Not directly. So TBD on the exact interplay between VE Hemi and the Vetro project. As we finalize that, we'll share details. VE Hemi as a ongoing, continuing yield source is not going to be directly getting yield from Vetro. The Vetro yield is going to be going only to the Vetro protocol. Again, there will be some interplay between the two, but it's not going to be on the yield the Vetro protocol generates, if that makes sense. So we'll announce more details when we can on that, but Vetro yield is going to be the yield that's generated on the underlying stablecoins in the Vetro system, by and large, is going to stay within the Vetro system and be distributed to people who are staking VUSD in the Vetro system, and at some point to VE Vetro for governance participation in the Vetro protocol itself.
All right. Let's see. Alpha asks, how does Hemi plan to face this bear market pressure?
Same we do for every bear market. We just keep building, and the plan is to build a lot of cool stuff. So when the market comes back and everyone's looking for stuff to do, we have, the fast track bridge to roll out. We have HBit VM to roll out. We have the Ethereum tunnel to roll out. So it's, as with every bear market, it's time to bear down and build. Aren't you proud of me? I just came up with that.
Yeah,
That was really good.
But
It's really good.
It's not our first bear market. So we've all, enough of us on the team have seen a few of these, and you keep building through them.
My first Bitcoin crash I experienced was from, I think, $20 or $21 to $5. And that felt like the world was ending. And it didn't. Here we are.
Although, to be fair, we really probably should have all done a lot more buying at that crash.
Yeah, for sure.
Wish I did any buying at that crash. Be so much happier today. All right, let's see. Oh, we have one more question, and nothing else has come in, oddly. Oh shit. All right. I tried to join the Hemi Guild, but it was too buggy. Agreed. When will it launch publicly? That's a very good question. I do not have a date for you, to be perfectly honest. We are very, very much exploring going to Zeely over Guild, because we are not having the results we'd like. The feedback we've gotten from the beta program has been extremely helpful, but also very frustrating. Not the feedback itself, but what it's addressing, and the fact that, people can't really do much, because of the system itself. So we have reached out to them to try to fix some stuff. If we don't see results from that this week, please expect an announcement regarding the future of that. But regardless, there's going to be a program in place. It's going to have very similar tasks, if not more to do, but we definitely want to do it on a stable platform where people can actually enjoy their time there, actually do stuff both on chain and off chain, and really get the most bang for your buck, if you will, out of it. John or Joshua, do you guys want to add anything to that?
I think you covered it pretty well from my perspective. Guild is a third-party service. We appreciate everyone's trying of it, and we have backup plans.
Yep. Yep. So that is the state of that. TBD, unfortunately. I am not seeing any more questions currently. Does anyone have a question about ZK provability that they would like to ask Max?
I was feeling bad for spending like 10 minutes on the Bitcoin protocol question. So I guess that was actually turned out to be fine.
No, that was beneficial. That was definitely beneficial. The questions are a little quiet this week. So if anyone has anything, by all means, please kick one out there. Oh, actually, let me back to Alex super quick, as he has one announcement to make.
Just
some of your activities.
Thank you, Rick. Just quickly, we have launched a new contest this morning on air. This contest is on X. You have to create a GIF about our guide, our boss to all. It's Max on his silky hairs. So you have to create a GIF and post it in comment on X. And there is on the table 1 million token, 1 million air token. So if you are bald, it's a good time to start to involve with us. Thank you, Rick, for this announcement.
Oh, we are so back. All right, yeah, we're back to Max hair gifts. So Max, feel free to check those out, retweet your favorites, and yeah, there's going to be apparently there's going to be a lot of you and your haircut happening on Twitter.
Uh-oh. That one from I forgot what we called it. That the AI one somebody made way back in the day that we like. It made the rounds on our Slack. That one was hilarious.
The one where like the cut drops on you,
Yeah.
and then yeah, that's a great one. That's like the
Thought about
OG.
using that as a profile picture. I thought people might get the wrong idea, but that was hilarious.
Alpa's asking about the best anime. If anyone has opinions on that.
I'm guessing there's none related to. I bet there's some crypto anime, right? Or something
There's
like
gotta
related
be.
to crypto.
Oh my God, that
There's
sounds
gotta
like a horror show. I can only imagine what sort of tentacle-based Bitcoin nightmare someone would come up with.
That would be a good contest. Someone come up with a Bitcoin-based anime that involves tentacles called Fork My Chain. And
Oh Jesus! I've made a terrible
and
mistake.
let's see what you got.
This is why you guys got to ask some tech questions.
Yeah. Where are we on? I'll ask a question. Where are we on ZK provability? How close are we to rolling that out?
That's a great question, Rick. Thank you for asking.
Thank you, Max. Of course.
We're making good progress. So this week is kind of exciting because we have a lot of different work streams internally coming together, and like actually we're gluing them together and testing them together. So we got the opreth, and from that downstream like REVM and related crates. That part mostly finished. We got versions of those running with Optimism's Kona system under Kahlua for risk 0, and working on getting the one. We're going to very shortly start working on getting the one for Succinct working as well for their alternative to their competitor to Kahlua. So we're getting that in. That's exciting to see. We're reworking the Oxygen, not the way Oxygen works from a ZK proving perspective, but how it gets ZK proven in the stack of the HVM state transition function. So the original idea, which is still viable, but it's a little less efficient than the new model, was that we'd have these separated layers of ZK proving, which we'll still have to some extent, but we had separated the Oxygen precompile ZK proofs out. So we had Oxygen state transition function proofs. So when you index new Bitcoin data on top of an existing Oxygen state root representing older Bitcoin data, that state transition from the old tree root to the new tree root is a self-contained ZK proof. And then the precompile calls that are executing the HVM precompiles against that data structure or their own separate ZK proofs that be incentivized independently through the ZK Prover marketplace. And then you'd have the HVM state transition function, the people who are proving those state transition functions using both the Oxygen STF proofs and the Oxygen precompile proofs, and basically recursively verifying those in their HVM state transition proof. And we're simplifying that a bit. So we're still keeping the Oxygen state transition function separate because that's a very expensive, meaty proof that makes sense to incentivize somebody who wants to specialize, if you will, in proving that. People won't really specialize, but the point is like you'll run a ZK miner that maybe has access to a ton of Oxygen state with a local Oxygen node. Some people will have that, some people won't. So people can kind of choose which or all of the layers of proving the ZK, the Hemi's ZK proving stack that they want to participate in. And so the Oxygen STF makes sense to still pull out separately. But we had this sort of self-referential way to get the HVM precompiles against Oxygen state to be ZK proven independently. And that worked, but the problem was you basically needed the sequencer of the Hemi chain as like a protocol rule to commit to a Merkle root of all the precompile calls that are executed in the block. And then the validation of that becomes a block validity rule. And then you need to, the ZK proof itself of the HVM precompiles would commit to a new output Merkle tree that Merkleizes all the executions of all those precompiles against the Oxygen state root at that point in the L2. And so verifying the precompiles in order to actually run each HVM precompile in the ZKVM is relatively speaking, very cheap. Because you just feed in the extremely small little sliver of the oxygen tree that you need to calculate that specific ZK proof. So, for example, is this UTXO spent? It's just basically one Merkle path extracted from the tree and then validated in the ZKVM. And so the cost of validating a proof of all of those, in a lot of cases, actually close to, if not more than the cost of just running each of the precompiles against hinted oxygen state as part of the HVM state transition function itself. And so we're reworking that layer a bit to still separate out the oxygen state transition function for indexing new Bitcoin data and getting a new oxygen state root. But we are folding in the precompile execution ZKVMs to run inside the HVM state transition function. So as part of when you're running, say, Kahlua, or a version of Kahlua that's been packaged and modified for the Hemi network, but our fork of it basically, previously you would have been feeding in oxygen precompile proofs that hint in data that then the precompile execution, when it hits an HVM precompile, it goes to that hinted in data from the committed HVM precompile call and then response Merkle trees that come with a Groth 16 proof that you have to verify in the prover. And now you would just feed in the partial portion of the oxygen state tree that you need to execute those specific precompiles, and you just do it inline as part of that proof. So that's all to say we're reworking a few things to make them a bit more efficient. And so working on that probably this week and next week to get through testing of that new sort of reworked, more efficient system. There's actually technically a version of the Hemi ZK market that is deployed to Hemi testnet. Nobody's submitting jobs to it because we're not actively doing anything with it. We tested it for about a week, 2 months ago. We made a few improvements, added a couple more minor features to it. But there is technically a version of that live, and we will hopefully be having a new version of that we will have a new version of that in the public beta for the ZKNet, which hopefully will be within the next couple of weeks here that we can get that beta out publicly. And so that'll be basically end-to-end, everything needed for the Ethereum side ZK proving of the Hemi tunnel. So that's going to be ZK proving oxygen state transitions, now ZK proving HVM state transitions with the oxygen proofs folded in for the HVM precompiles, and then the Ethereum DA block derivation, block deserialization, and then a sort of a macro prover that wraps all of those together to construct one state root that, taking Ethereum DA data, extracting Hemi blocks from it, validating those blocks, processing those blocks, internally recursively processing the oxygen state transitions that those blocks cause to occur inside of the HVM, results in this finalized Hemi state that is provably constructed from Ethereum DA derivation, executes correctly, has this view of Bitcoin that then can be used on the Ethereum settlement side, and more broadly could be used technically to build a ZK bridge to any other network, but that would require a ZK proof of the remote network as well. So you need both sides of it. So this is the only side that's needed for the Ethereum settlement, because we're an Ethereum-based chain, so Ethereum knows enough about itself to be able to validate these proofs that Hemi was derived from it. And then it's the first of two parts for anyone who wants to build a full ZK bridge from Hemi to any other network. So any other network that itself is ZK provable, anyone could, and maybe we'll build some of these at some point, but lower priority, but anyone could now use the ZK proofs of the Hemi network we use on Ethereum, with one extra tiny little proof for Ethereum finalization, because you have mutual finality with Ethereum settlement, so you don't have to prove to Ethereum that the DA publications for the Hemi chain that you're referring to are finalized in Ethereum. You just have to prove they're published, because if those proofs get reverted, necessarily any settlement that happens after those proofs are in the chain would also get reverted, so they're mutually atomic, basically. But if you just take that proving system and then just add one very lightweight Ethereum finality proof, that becomes a reusable proof for building Hemi ZK bridges to any other EVM as long as the remote EVM is also ZK provable. And then that's a large portion of the foundation that we need for the HBit VM ZK proof. So on top of that, then we're going to layer, and this is the future development work, is layering on the HBit VM, basically the new POP publication protocol of Ethereum attestation data to Bitcoin, a new oxygen indexer in the existing oxygen tree that extracts that information from the Bitcoin view, a smart contract that runs on Hemi that you ZK prove, because that's, you sort of get ZK provability almost for free because you can bake it in as just a Ethereum EVM execution call on the existing EVM ZK proving framework, but a contract that reads that data and validates the Ethereum attestation publication to Bitcoin and the timeliness of it. And then the final ZK proof wrapper around that entire system that makes it into Groth 16 proof that you can actually settle in HBit VM on Bitcoin with the ZK vault construction. So that's the current status, is getting close to a beta. It still needs to go through audit and everything, but getting close to a beta on the Ethereum ZK tunnel side. It's a small jump from there to interoperability with other ZK chains, if people are interested in building that. And then that's sort of the meat of the foundation for the full proof that we need for HBit VM, which is all of that plus the additional, basically bouncing Ethereum proof of stake against Bitcoin proof of work to keep each other in check to solve the zero knowledge, nothing at stake problem. And then the ZK proofs of the actual new updated HBit VM tunnel system, which can, for the most part, just be folded into the existing EVM execution base, but it does require a new smart contract that the ZK prover knows to specifically run and validate as part of a individual ZK program, ZK VM guest that needs to be coordinated with the rest of that stack in one sort of macro prover that validates all of those sub proofs and produces one macro proof that you can validate on Bitcoin.
All right. I have a ZK follow-up question. From a YouTube comment. Could you do a live demo of the ZK marketplace?
Yeah, we could. Why don't we schedule that for next week's Midweek with Max?
That sounds
That
fantastic.
sounds fun.
Cool.
All right. Okay, chat is devolving. But yeah, it does seem like Attack on Titan is the best anime. So I will go with that as well.
But
Let's
what?
see.
Hold on, wait a minute. I did have to walk my dog for a minute there for an emergency situation, so I want to weigh in on this. My favorite anime is Hajime Ippo, and it's a super good show that anyone should watch.
Well,
It's about boxing. It's about boxing, and it doesn't have any superpowers or anything like that. It's just a guy whose hard work and mettle gets him through situations, and it's really cool to watch. Anyone who wants to watch a good show should go watch that. It's on Netflix.
I like Jeremy's convincing argument is it's a really good show.
Yeah,
You should watch it.
The same thing. Alpha said, "Hold the F on." I don't think Alpha agrees with you on this.
And
I mean, that's okay.
I'm way behind because the last anime I watched was One Punch Man, which was good, but not recent.
And I don't think Attack on Titan, I mean, Attack on lost me in the freaking second season because there was something that was supposed to happen in the first season that didn't happen for 3 seasons. And then they made you wait for it to happen. And then you don't care. Attack on Titan, the best anime. Ha!
Jeremy's opinion on Attack on Titan does not reflect the broader Hemi team. just felt like I had to put that disclaimer there.
All anime
Well, I do
are
watch
solely
anime,
Jeremy's
so
own and not affiliated with Hemi Labs or the Hemi Foundation.
Exactly. All right. Yeah. Oh Jesus. All right. Here come the weird questions. Let's see. Does okay, here's a very random question. Does anyone have anything to say about Michael Saylor? What kind of question is that?
I haven't really been following it very much. We were looking at doing, and we ran like a short pilot of some STRC based strategies, which STRC fell a little bit. It's supposed to repeg. I haven't looked too deep into the underlying economics of it, so I can't really speak to beyond just what I observed. But I don't think we're currently pursuing that yield strategy anymore, at least in this current market. But yeah, I mean, I know there's been some drama, but I have not been following it enough to give an informed opinion.
Right. And the last question is, what's the best shampoo?
Whatever you can get for $5 at Walmart.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. I go with Pert Plus personally. As a
Mane
conditioner.
and tail. Mane and tail shampoo and conditioner.
I don't even know what brand I use. I just know what the bottle looks like, and I grab it when I need it.
That's fair. All right. Well, we are a little under time, but what the hell? It's a holiday week here in the States, so yeah, not the worst thing. Everyone should slam that subscribe button and hit like on this video if you enjoy the content. You can join us on this exact same platform or Twitter or in LinkedIn if you really want to. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. EDT, as engineering office hours is moving over to StreamYard. And I believe we're going to be going with a bi-weekly cadence on that. So we will not have an office hours next week, but we will the following. And then, just follow that pattern. But we'll also have Midweek with Max every Tuesday at 11 a.m. EDT for your viewing pleasure, where you can ask ridiculous questions. Why is Alpha telling me to wait? Alpha, I'm in the middle of my 55-minute outro. What do you need? Oh, all right. Well, we're not getting out of here early. Here we go. It's AI State's ideal currency, BTC.
Also, before we get into that, I want to quickly just point everyone to proof that the real alpha is always in the comments. Talk with Funky says, "Don't buy a wig. You don't have to buy shampoo. That's a one-time durable investment." This man's thinking. Okay, back to as AI State's ideal currency, BTC. AI State, like ultimate, government AI surveillance state. I'd say no. I mean, Bitcoin does have property compared to something like Monero or Zcash. Bitcoin is much more public, and there's pros and cons to that. But the ultimate anti-currency, I guess, for an AI state would probably be one of the ZK privacy tokens. But I think Bitcoin, an AI state's ideal currency is, in my opinion, tokens in a database that they control and they can block you out from any time. And that's obviously pretty far from what Bitcoin is and how Bitcoin works. So I'd say it's, the public visibility of it, I guess maybe to a little extent, but it's pretty far down the totem pole of what I'd consider AI state's ideal currency. I think that'd be fiat in a centralized database with no physical cash is probably what a theoretical AI state would want to move towards.
So I actually have something to say there too, because despite that I am my known pro Monero stance, there is something to be said for something totally for the type of transparency Bitcoin has. If you read something like David Brin's Transparent Society, transparency is great when both sides have it. So if you have something like Bitcoin where everything is visible to everyone, while not private, it does have some sort of, the full transparency has some sort of, I don't want to say privacy preserving, but useful features for that. If you're trying to be or anti-surveillance features, because both sides get it. And yeah, like Max said, if you really want a horrible AI state version of things, something where you can have transparency on the side of where you have transparency required for everyone else, but not for the surveilling side. That's the ideal case for them, and that is either fiat currency or something that is obviously in the database and moves entirely electronically. So not cash, because cash is totally not interesting for something like that. But something where one side can be transparent and the other side isn't.
And let's just have some fun and make it an even worse AI version of that. Instead of it being like an actual database, the AI just keeps everyone's balances in its context and keeps losing them or hallucinating them.
Oh, we're
going to go like full horrible AI.
we're going to vibe code an economy. Claude, how much money do I have left?
Oh man. Someone asked thoughts on California's 3D printing laws requiring surveillance software. I have not been following this, but I feel like either you or Joshua might have some comments.
New York has similar fucking stupid ideas like that, where it's it's going at your will make no secret of the fact that I am not like a libertarian or anything like that. So I have very different opinions than some other people on the need to, shall we say, monitor is a bad word, but still, those laws it's always a case of, oh my God, won't somebody think of the children? We have to do something, so we're going to do something. Not are we going to do something useful, not are we going to do something helpful. Does what we're doing have negative other effects? Is what we want to do even possible? So let's legislate something that doesn't make any fucking sense and that is not actually, like if I want to, if you were to pass a law that says things need to fall up now, okay, you passed a law, but it doesn't fucking do anything because there are other physical requirements that have a little more to say about things. Reality doesn't always care what your laws say. So if your laws don't line up with the reality of things, so like the surveillance and 3D printing, guess what? For one thing, if you have a Creality printer, you'd be lucky if your printer does things accurately enough to make anything, to make a pair of dice. So forget about making something complex, but also things that go boom do tend to require metal parts also. And consumer 3D printers don't love those. So I think it's, again, we have to do something. Look, we did something.
I'm obviously not.
Good.
I'm obviously not in the US, so these don't yet apply to me. But I think they're entirely targeting the wrong thing. Like, you need other parts for the things that they're trying to prevent people from making. And they're deciding to block the manufacturing of things using printers and in turn requiring software to be built into the printers, which then results in stuff like open source printer firmware being required to include it as well. And then you're trying to criminalize open source firmware for these printers because they don't contain a machine learning algorithm that literally can't be accurate anyway. It doesn't make any sense.
Yep. That's a slippery slope. It's like, you've got bad measuring tools to try and measure something that's very difficult to measure in an area where like the thing that you're trying to measure for isn't really taking place. It's like, why restrict them? And why enter the surveillance state for people that are attempting to use technology to manufacturing cycle, right?
Yep. And I mean, honestly, you know what I use a 3D printer for? 9 times out of 10, it's to make a little bin to hold something. So I'm printing fucking boxes.
But John, if you're just printing bins, why would you care if they surveil you, huh?
Or, yes, exactly. Or like some little toy that my kids wanted. But
Well, what's going to happen when like something fails and then the company's like, oh, well, we don't want you to repair that. And so we're going to use this machine learning algorithm to say, oh, if you're going to try and fit that part on the corner of this thing here, you're not allowed to print that. It's illegal. And so it's going to create a bunch of dumb loopholes that people are going to have to follow to get anything done.
But also, like, have you seen if you ever look at what the actual processors in like a lot of these things are, they like whatever like ARM system on a chip that they use for the Prusa ones, which those are the printers I like. Those just barely have enough horsepower to run a web server for the local interface. Like, that's about it. So they're going to, the ones that follow this are going to put something stupid on there that barely works anyway, number one. Number two, this is why you should always buy hardware that is local first. If your hardware requires an internet connection to work, you're already, in a bad place. So local first.
The way that California has written this bill is that it requires software that can continuously block certain parts from being printed, requiring that data set is constantly updated, meaning that you can't have a local only printer. Yeah. It has to be able to collect that somehow and be able to match against things.
Keep in mind, California is the same state and there's a lot I like about California. I'm not actually, again, I don't always politically fall into the same place as the rest of the crypto world, but California is the same place that has laws that lead to those, ridiculous warning labels on absolutely fucking everything that, if you buy a fucking screwdriver and it'll have a warning label that it's known to cause reproductive harm, or almost everything else. So you put so many warning labels on it that people don't read the labels anymore.
Good old Prop 65.
That's the one. Not being in California, I could not remember the number, but yes, that one.
It's like on every doorway I walk into every building.
Wait, it's on building doorways? What the fuck is that?
Yeah, every single building has a Prop 65 warning that this building contains chemicals known to the state of California to cause birth defects, cancer, all sorts of bad stuff. And that you agree that by going in here, you will indemnify the owners of this building against any damages that you would hold against them for, exposure to such things.
Awesome.
I'm just glad I don't live in California. That sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, that
come for
absurd.
The view. Don't come for the signage.
It's going to give me cancer. Like, what the hell are you doing in California?
It's the same building everywhere. We just put a warning on it.
No, the ones in California, they add all the stuff to. That's why.
Yeah. They have gamma radiation. You just walk in and it's like you're the Hulk.
That's right.
All those. It's like dark chocolate will cause cancer because, I don't know, some heavy metal level. Like. Anyway, I think we've gotten kind of off track.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, we
just a bit.
This show to death today. So let's wrap it up here. Thank you all.
Let's 3D print the end of the episode before they nanny us out of it.
There we go.
Yeah. If you'd like to hear us talk more about Prop 65 or ZK proofability or aliens, you can tune in tomorrow. But no, seriously, ask your building related questions. Join the Hemi Discord, build cool shit, and check out all the new community activities that are popping up. The Hair Games Season 5 is currently live. There is a GIF contest happening on Twitter that has to do with a certain someone's immaculate haircut. And geez, I can't believe they're still on the haircut thing. It's so funny. It's been 2 years now. Jesus. All right. Well, anyway, I'm going to shut the hell up. Let me kick it over to the team for some outros, and we'll see you soon.
All right. Awesome. Thanks everyone for joining us. As Rick said, we'll be doing our engineering office hours tomorrow, same time, and it's going to be the first time that we're doing it here on StreamYard, which means on YouTube, X, and LinkedIn. If for some reason you're on LinkedIn. So hope to see you there if you're building something or have any builder-related questions. And like Rick said, that will be going to every other week. So we're doing it this week, tomorrow, and then skipping the week after, then doing the week after that, and so on and so forth. And also, if you're interested in being some of the first to test any of the cool new stuff we're working on the ZK side with Fast Track, not Fast Lane, Fast Track, with the upcoming updated Hemi Earn product, with the ZK Approval Marketplace. It kind of folds into the ZK stuff. But if you're interested in testing any of that, definitely join the Builders channel, get the Builders role. Or, sorry, join the Beta Testers channel, get the Beta Testers role. And there will be some small incentivized campaigns for testing very specific things. Again, not like the old incentivized testnet of, just do like 2 transactions every day kind of a thing, but actually battle testing like certain edge cases of the software, trying to find bugs, reporting useful, usability feedback or bugs or issues you ran into. Stuff like that, we'll be looking for that sort of feedback. So appreciate everyone joining us, and we will see you either tomorrow at the engineering office hours or next week on another Midweek with Max.
Your outros are just as long as mine, for the record. I just want to throw that out there because I get shit a lot for having really long outros. Oh shit!
We should do a little outro timer in the.
We should have an outro off. So just longer outros. All right. Well,
I
anyway,
ramble a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if mine are even worse.
I don't know. I think I put that there. All right. Well, thanks, amigos. We'll see you all at one of our live streams coming up very soon. Well, tomorrow. So very soon.